Hello everyone, today we will be painting these Soviet tank crew figures, and using them as an example, I'll try to explain how to improve your 1/72nd scale figures. First of all, I need a wet palette and 3 colors from Vallejo Panzer Access series. There are Flash, Shadow Flash and Highlight Flash. I start painting the figures with the face, and now I'm applying the first very diluted layer of flash paint to the primed model. This will be our base layer. At this stage there is no need to be too precise and try to cover all visible parts, because all mistakes will be corrected later. The main thing now is to apply the base layer. As you can see, my paint is indeed very diluted. I do this so it flows into all the small crevices, as there can be very tiny indentations or recesses like the mouse slate, where the paint might not settle well. If it's very diluted, it will settle properly. As you can see, all these figures are quite different. Some faces are more detailed, while others leave much to be desired. For each face, the method will be slightly different to show you different ways to paint the faces of these figures. Now that the base color on the model's face has dried, we need to dilute the shadow flash color to a wash consistency and apply it to figure's face. As you can see, this wash perfectly penetrates all the necessary places and remains in the recesses. I repeat the same process with the other models, but for some of them I apply the wash almost as full layer to show you another way to paint the faces of the figures. Once the wash application is complete, it's time to paint the eyes. Yeah, in 1/72nd scale painting eye is nearly impossible if you don't have enough experience. But you really need to try to work on this detail, because it significantly improves the model. As you can see, the paint goes beyond the eye boundaries. But that's okay, because it will be corrected later. I'll show you a small hack to easily and simply add the black pupils without using a brush. For this, take a 7 needle, preferably with a small diameter. Dip the needle in black paint and carefully place dots where you think the pupils should be. Here is how mine turned out. I'm satisfied with this result. Now it's time for correction. For this I take flash color. First I need to carefully even out the eye area, removing the protruding white and black parts by simply painting over them with the base skin color. There is no need to rush here. Take your time, do everything slowly and gradually. And after all my mistakes were corrected, I started applying highlight to the skin. Highlights are usually applied to the raised parts, like the eyebrows, forehead, nose, chin or cheeks. At this stage there is no need to hurry. I recommend using very diluted paint and occasionally using the dry brush method. This way you can control the process maximally. But don't overdo the effect. Everything should be in moderation. Here is the face I achieved. This rosy-cheeked tank crew looks quite good for my purpose. I tried to show exactly how I use a needle. It's not very visible, but I think you get the idea. This time I want to make a tank crewman who is looked to the side. And as with the previous figure, after applying the eye color, I proceed with corrections. As you can see, on this model I am doing the corrections not with the base color, but with the shadow flash color. Next I use the base skin color from the Panzer Access series as a highlight. This is done to show that this tank crewman is slightly tanner than the previous one. Such variety will make your figure more interesting. After all, people in the real world are diverse. Now we move on to another interesting way of painting the face. For this figure, shadow flash was used as the base color. This time I also tried to apply the pupils of the eyes with a brush. As you can see, it turned out poorly, but this can be fixed. I just need to make a few brush strokes using the color I used for the base skin color of this character. Now we will simply apply the base skin color on top of it and use it as a highlight. And just look at how it looks now. I think it's perfect model. Using a very dark color as the base skin color creates very interesting shadows around the helmet and in the all recesses. Sometimes achieving such a result with washes is very difficult. Now that we are done with the faces, we move on to painting the uniform. I used this base color for the Soviet tank crew uniforms. Since I am a fan of more cartoonish effect rather than realism, I apply shadows with rough and even somewhat sloppy strokes. Please, don't think that I am just ruining the model. You will understand my method and why I do it this way. Many modelers apply shadow carefully with highly diluted paint, but I follow a different path. I apply the base color, then roughly mark the shadow, and then gradually correct them, removing the excess and leaving the necessary parts. Also, due to my clumsiness, I can't do everything neatly. Unfortunately, I lack the patience for meticulous work, therefore the method I have chosen is perfect for me. Also, at the first glance it may seem like I just ruining the model with rough and sloppy strokes. But it's time to move on to the next stage, where I take the base color and start correcting the shadows to the desired size. For some reason this method of painting uniform is very comfortable for me, as I said previously. Perhaps correcting the shadow is easier for me than applying them neatly from the start. Maybe some of you has the same issue and will find this method useful. I also highly recommend adding shadow at the transition between the uniform and the belt, or for example, as in my case, between the uniform and the gloves. Their shadow are very important, and they just need to be in this place. In the end, you will see the volume they create. Now I will speed up the process a bit to show the fine detailing using light paint. This detailing includes applying various scuffs, highlights and some damage to the uniform. In the process, I am not only use a highly diluted light paint, but also employ the dry brush method. And all that remains is to paint the other parts of the uniform in their base color and apply the dry brushing method to them. It's simple way, but for 1/72 scale figures it works perfectly. I won't go into detail about each figure now. I will just show you the result for each of them. And I think for the beginner, this is the best way to paint figures. The figures look quite good overall, and will not ruin your diorama, but rather complement it. However, it's important to understand that a large part of success depends on the quality of the figure. Some companies make low quality figure. For example, I very like Orion, a Ukrainian figure manufacturing company. But not all their figures are great, some are just awful. At the same time, the very popular company Mars also makes figure. Initially I didn't like them, but some of their figures are just remarkable. I mean that not all figures from the same company will always be great. So you will have to practice and also spend a few dollars to determine which figures are comfortable for you. After all, people who paint tractor, car or tank models or other military equipment don't always enjoy painting figures. They might find it boring. Therefore, I think my method is the simplest and easier for such folks. I hope you find something useful in this video. If so, as usual, give this video a thumb up and ask your question in comment section. I will answer any of your questions. And as always, in this time, take care of your family, watch over your health and love your loved ones. I wish you a peaceful sky over your head, which is what I also want for my Ukraine.